Rev up your engines!
Well, with these tariffs and the stock market starting to fall down, Trump says, I'm not going to bend at all. And he's doubling down on the tariffs. He says, no, I'm not going to change my mind. And in the short run, this is going to go, and in the long run, it's going to pay off. Now, nobody really knows, of course. One thing that I learned years ago, though, is don't throw good money after bad. Now, you see the stocks are sinking, right? A lot of people are suckered into, they got a stock investment, and they lose a bunch of money. And then they'll double down, they'll put more money in. Believe you me, don't chase with more losses. That's the typical gambler's instinct. Well, I'll just keep doubling down. Eventually, I'm going to win, right? That doesn't always pay off, especially in the stock market. There's generally a pretty good reason why the stocks go down. And if you start buying them as they're going down, thinking they're going to come back up, hey, you might even be for a really rude surprise. Let's say you're going to double down, right? Very soon, if you're on a big losing streak, you're going to need so much money. So a lot of this stuff, hey, it is basically riverboat gambling. And of course, they always say the same thing. The stock market was at record highs last month. Higher as ever been, right? Now it's down a little over 10%. So they call it a correction. How come when it goes up, those stocks booming, then when it goes down, oh, that's just a correction. With the tariffs making companies shaky, not knowing exactly what kind of plans they're going to have, well, we'll see what happens the next 6 months or a year. And then he said things like, he says, quote, we don't need anything they have. We buy a lot of oil from them, right? You know, these blanket statements, they don't cut the mustard. Maybe for bargaining chip, you could say this or that, but they all know we need things they have. They need things we have. Canada doesn't have the industrial structure that the United States have. And when I went to school up there, I noticed all the stuff, steel and stuff, most of it all came from the United States, right? A lot of their stuff comes from the United States. They actually buy a lot more of our stuff than we do of theirs. Canada exported $593 billion Canadian money worth of goods to the U.S. in 2023. And they imported $484 billion worth of goods from us. We're buying more of their stuff than they're buying our stuff. We get all kinds of stuff from them, right? So actually a tariff would be a terrible thing against the Canadians, because we buy their stuff, it would get more expensive, and then they will get mad, and they won't buy our stuff, and we'll sell less stuff to them. I mean, the stuff gets complex, but on one level, it is pretty simple. We get a lot of stuff from them. Don't think that this is going to affect things. I don't think that magically this is going to be a bullet that's going to fix everything by saying, well, we don't need anything they have. Well, the Germans aren't doing too hot. BMW just posted a 37% drop in annual net profit, and they're warning that there is a subdued, in quotes, Chinese demand. Well, of course, BMWs are more or less luxury cars, right? And the Chinese are like, why should we buy this German crap? We got our own stuff we can buy. And that's what they're doing. Net profit, BMW went down 36.9% last year. And they're predicting that they think they'll have around a 5% net profit this year, 2025, compared to the 6.3% that they had last year. So it dropped, but they're saying it's probably going to drop even further. How can they blame it on the Chinese? Well, if you didn't know, China is now the #1 car market in the world. It used to be the United States, we're #2, now it's China. They buy a lot of cars, right? And I guess the Chinese are saying, we're not that impressed with this supposed German master technology. A lot of the German stuff, they're basically living on their laurels, just like Harley Davidson. The company's in deep trouble, but they got the Harley name, right? Well, the BMW name. Well, it doesn't mean what it used to. Of course, they're also blaming tariffs by the U.S. They said that'll affect us 1% of our net profit. They just make these things up as they go, right? Now you might think, what difference does it really make? BMW, right? Rich car company. Well, worldwide, they actually sell somewhat smaller, more affordable cars, because last year, BMW delivered 2.45 million cars. That's a lot of cars, right? The Chinese are starting to not buy them. Other countries, the United States sales are down. So maybe the Germans need a radical shakeup. Well, I love this one. It shows that politicians are all in the same bed. Chuck Schumer announces that he's going to vote to keep the government open to avoid the shutdown. They got a picture of old Chuck smiling away, right? He says, I don't really like this Republican bill, but it's better to do this than it is to shut the government down. Wah, right? Well, it just shows that they're basically all a bunch of thieves together. Their backroom deals and the nonsense that they spout out. What always happens is the government borrows money. Then they run out of money. Making us pay even more taxes than we pay makes everyone mad. Instead of raising the taxes, they borrow money. Well, then the debt gets so high, they have no money left. So the government's bankrupt. So what do they always do at the last hour, the 11th hour? They say, well, we'll raise the debt ceiling, we'll borrow some more money. And then they act like they're making such a big deal about Schumer announces he's going to vote for this. Blah, blah, blah. You know they're always going to vote for it. Problem is, as some of these economists have just said recently, is, hey, there's only so much that they can borrow. And some countries will stop loaning it to you. It's just a matter of fact. You know? If they see, yeah, they got all this money and they're not paying us our interest back, hey, what do you think? People are going to keep loaning you money? And of course, like I said, they always play the game. Schumer says, well, this avoids a government shutdown. Wham, 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 right? And every year, sometimes twice a year, they do the same old thing. And of course, in the case of the Democrats, they want to blame it all on Trump. Here's exactly what Schumer said, which is absolutely hilarious. Schumer says, quote, it is deeply partisan. It doesn't address far too many of this country's needs, but I believe allowing Donald Trump to take even much more power in a government shutdown is a far worse option. So they're blaming the whole thing on Trump now because they all do deficit spending, right? They did the whole thing when Biden was president, the same thing, deficit spending. Oh, we'll raise the debt ceiling, borrow some more money. Well, eventually comes home to roost, and where's the money when they want to get paid back? Well, hope doesn't work then. They want money out of the deal. Something, right? Well, if you're thinking about buying an electric car and you only want to do short trips, well, here's a guy who did just that. And he says, well, his car has a lot of quirks, but he doesn't drive it far. Okay. He bought a 2015 Fiat 500e. Now, he's only driven it 1,000 miles so far, so you know, if you have a small car like that with a very limited range, you can get them dirt cheap, you know. I mean, realize it's Italian, not the greatest made. But if you're not going that far, hey, I've had customers with them, and they use them for city urban cars. This is an old one. Now, it charges slow. So it takes a long time to charge it up, but if you're an urban thing and you're not driving far, now this guy's looking for a house. He's in an apartment house. It's kind of a pain charging it there. He can easily put in a level 2 charger. Charging it with a level 1 charger, even with that, it's going to take a long time. He admits his effective range in this thing is 50 miles. I did a thing a while back on a BMW, their early electric car, right? And I found out this thing basically had a range of about 65 miles left. One of the reasons the BMW original electric car was a massive failure. It just couldn't go far. Had a range extender with a 3-gallon tank that I could let it go another 90 miles, but yeah, what's the point, right? So now with the prices of electric cars dropping like a stone, maybe you could get a used one cheap and try it out like this guy did. What the heck? It's not much of an investment. You can pick those piles of junk up for, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. And what the heck? It's like for most people, maybe one monthly payment. Hey, maybe it's time. Everything's cheap. Maybe give a little thing like that a try. Hey, it's got a small battery, so it doesn't take as long to charge as a big battery does, even though it's got a slow charging rate. I mean, hey, when it's that cheap, even I'm tempted, Now, if you're thinking about getting a hybrid car, a lot of people are driving hybrid cars now, right? But they're not all the same. In terms of price and quality, here are some really good ones. For example, the 2025 Toyota Corolla Hybrid starts at only $23,825. The average car in the United States is about $46,000. And this is a lot better than the average car. It's going to last a long time, right? Phenomenal gas mileage. Now, another one that's affordable is the 2025 Ford Maverick Hybrid. It starts at $27,500. Now, the one thing that I don't like about it is it's made in Mexico. And they've had some quality problems, right? Ford has to fix them. But if you want a little truck that can get great gas mileage, what the heck? Some of these big Ford trucks are $81,000, $91,000. This thing's only $27,500. And of course, rounding out the list is the classic 2025 Toyota Prius. They start at $28,350. They get phenomenal gas mileage. They can last 300,000-400,000 miles, and they're not that expensive. See, here's the difference between well-built hybrids and EVs. EVs are super expensive today. The batteries cost a bunch, and then you got range anxiety and all this. The hybrids aren't. Now, you can get super expensive hybrids. You can get a Lexus race car hybrid if you'll spend that kind of money. But for the rest of us, these are pretty decent vehicles that you're going to get phenomenal gas mileage, and they're still well below the average price of like $46,000 for a new car. Well, people are under the illusion that cars are getting safer and safer, but only 2 of America's 10 best-selling vehicles earned the IIHS Safety Award. Only 2 of them. It doesn't include the Ford F-150, the Chevy Silverado, or even the Toyota RAV4. Only 2 of the top best-selling vehicles in the United States were included in these top safeties, which are the Toyota Camry and the Honda Civic. Interesting. It's a very technical study where they smash the cars in certain ways and they only give the highest ratings to the ones that are. They don't mean the car itself. The car itself smashed up and is useless. It's destroyed. They're talking about the people inside don't get injured or killed. And only the Toyota Camry and the Honda Civic earned the awards. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.